Bismillah. So we talked about the issue of Prophet Muhammad's, with Sauda, but we said, this is something that was in his heart, okay? Something that he says in the hadith that, please Allah, don't hold me accountable what I cannot control, right? Something of reality. This, think about it. It happens in our daily lives. This was an example. But what I want you to focus now is on the arguments of the missionaries, right? We did talk about whether it's Prophet Muhammad wanted to kick her to the curb, right? Look at the language that David uses. And we talked about the iddah period and how long a man has to keep and provide for her. So he's not kicking her to the curb, but he has to provide for her. And maybe there'll be reconciliation between them. And we talked about the issue that he wanted to spend more times with his more beautiful wives, which is not true. There's no proof for that. It was Sauda who initiated, who gave up that right and chose Aisha. So the Prophet Muhammad didn't come and said, I want to spend more time with my beautiful wives, right? It was Sauda who said, I'm going to give up my night. He just accepted, right? Because he did love Aisha. He did, and he knew that he cannot be fair towards Sauda. He is not attracted to her. He is not, what is he going to force himself? He's going to force himself to, she would know, she would be hurt, right? That he's not, he wanted to divorce her because he did not want to make her feel guilty. When he married her to help her at the beginning. She was already fat and slow and old, 60 or 80 as some scholars say. So you see, David, is not as you say it is, right? He married her to help her, a mercy to mankind. And then when, and we said about the reasons of the different wives that he married, when he had more wives, there was more rights that he had to divide, and he felt that he could not be fair towards Sauda, towards this lady, right? So if he wanted to divorce her, it would have been, the divorce, he thought it would have been better for her. He would have still taken care of her for that whole period of 3 months. Maybe they would have reconciled. Maybe they would have divorced and she would have parted her way. And Allah would have provided for her. She would have found another husband to take care of and so on and so forth. This is the wife of the ex-wife of the Prophet. People would, definitely take her and help her. And of course her family and so on and so forth. So it's not that she's, being abandoned and kicked to the curb as you're saying. Number one, because the iddah period and the three periods that the husband will provide for her and keep her in the house. And, number two, that of course, her immediate family and so on and so forth. Not her husband because he deceased, but her, if she has any extended family or the community or, her being the ex-wife of Prophet Muhammad, no one would ever abandon. So now let's keep going on with the arguments and the twisting of the missionaries to make Prophet Muhammad sound so bad and Islam so bad. Let's keep going.
So after Sauda made an agreement, in other words, she says, all right, I'm willing to lay aside some of my rights as a wife, as long as you don't divorce me and you don't just kick me out. So after...
Kick me out. Look at it again. David, please, you need to learn Islam. You can't just speak like that, I'm trying to be as nice as possible, right? But you guys are being, ignorant and deceptive, and really, you have to stand your ground on truth. Why are you doing this? You're calling yourself a Christian and a righteous man, and yet you are trying to deceive people. I agree that you don't understand, you don't agree that Islam is truth, but don't deceive.
Sauda does this, Muhammad agrees, because it's going to allow him to spend more time with Aisha. And as a result, a verse came to Muhammad. This is Surah 4, 128. If a wife fears cruelty or desertion on her husband's part, there is no blame on them if they arrange an amicable settlement between themselves, and such settlement is best. So think about what this is saying. If a woman fears cruelty or desertion on her husband's part, you're a woman, you fear that your husband is going to be cruel and is going to desert you because you're no longer attractive to him. You can make an agreement with him, and it's good for you to make an agreement with him. It's good for you to lay aside some of your rights as a wife, to sacrifice some of your rights, and we'll even look at the tafsir, at the commentaries, which say that you can sacrifice your right to have your husband provide clothes and food and things to you. You can sacrifice that if you want to remain married. So compare that with...
No. Let's analyze this. Let's see what he says. Now think about it. Number one, and you read it, David. Let's go to the actual verse. Number one. Where is it? It is. See if I can find the wife. The verse about the wives. Okay, so here it is. So if a woman fears cruelty or desertion on her husband's part, there is no sin on them if they make up terms of peace between themselves, and making peace is better. And think about it. He quoted this part only. Now, this when you and he says now think about it, because he wants to make it as is, somehow it's just, the woman has no choice or right whatsoever. She's always getting the lower hand, and man gets the upper hand. And it's interesting because David, you actually quoted, okay? Now look what it says here. That Bainahuma, of course, and you said between themselves. It is a mutual contract, Sam. It is a mutual contract, right? It is the wife who will say that I will lay aside this right, and the husband if he agrees, or so on and so forth, right? So it's not, that she lays out her, her right to, to food and whatever, let's lay out all the rights. She will pick what she thinks that she can lay down. If the husband agrees, or if she agrees, right? That's the whole issue. Will they agree? They both have to agree. So what does Sauda? She laid down her night for Aisha, right? She laid down her night. She could have laid down whatever she wanted, right? Prophet Muhammad could have accepted or not. She could have laid down this or that. It's up to them to come out with an agreement between the two. And making peace is better. Better than what? Than divorce, David. In your Christian country, in USA and Canada, and most of the Western Christian countries, the divorce rate is skyrocketing, right? Because people they just want a divorce. They'll go, well, who cares? Let's divorce. Let's divorce. It is unthinkable, and we're talking about here about reality. Sometimes a woman and a man, husband and wife, will have problems. Sometimes the husband will not be attracted to the woman, and this is from the nature of men. Usually the women, in terms of intimacy and so on, attraction somehow is more emotional than physical. We know this from psychology, from the different studies. But for men, it is usually more physical. So if that happens to be, right, what is it better to just divorce? It says, hey, if you want to lay down some of your rights and your husband agrees, it's better than divorce. It's better to keep the family together. Look at the depthness of this verse. Look at the ethics of this verse to keep the family intact. Because there's so many, circumstances when there's a divorce. So it's better to keep peace. And look what it says next, subhanAllah. Because it applies to this issue, to Prophet Muhammad, to every human being. Prophet Muhammad was it says, and human inner selves are swayed by greed. But if you do good and keep away from evil, verily Allah is ever well acquainted with what you do. So that's, in human beings, sometimes we don't like this girl, we want better, or sometimes, we want this and that. And Allah says that, subhanAllah, He actually says that. And this can apply both to Sauda and to Prophet Muhammad in this case. That's, he is a human, right? He has this desire or that desire. He would like this or that. She would like this, she would like that. And Allah says, but do good. It's better if you do good. Let's move on to the verse. What does it say? Next verse, and I wish David would have quoted this verse, but he said, you will never be able to do perfect justice between your wives. Never, even if you ardent desire. So do not incline too much to one of them, so as to leave the other one hanging. And if you do justice, if you will not incline to one of them, if you will not take one over the other, if you give her full rights, and do what is right and fear Allah by keeping away from all that is wrong, then Allah is oft forgiving, most merciful. So it is better. Hey, you have this option. You cannot control your heart. Maybe you're not going to feel attracted to her. Let her lay down some of her rights, right? And to be able to skip the marriage together. But if you cannot, if that will not happen, and both human souls are swayed by greed, right? But if you cannot, then okay, fine, lay down. But if you can, push yourself, then Allah is better for you. It is better for you to do good and keep away from this, this thing. Subhanallah. But if they separate by divorce, Allah will provide abundance for every one of them from His bounty. So yes, if it does happen to separate, and as David puts it, it's like the wife has no way out of here. She's always gonna get the lower hand, right? Hey, divorce might happen, right? If they don't agree and she doesn't want to lay down this right or that right, and the husband is not providing and so on and so forth, then maybe they'll divorce. But who will provide for them should not be kicked to the curb, David, because Allah swears. He says He will provide for her. He will provide for her, not anyone else. He will actually provide for her. Let's continue with the next one.